Thank you both so much for speaking with me. Just to dive right in, what drew you guys both to this updated classic story?
Well, for me, I love Black Beauty. I love the original story. And so when I got an email with the script, I was really excited, but I was still like, oh, please be good, because I just love this so much. And I read it and I was just in tears by the end of just how amazing it was. It was just everything that I really wanted and hoped that it would be.
The script, just the quality of the script, that sort of first point of contact for, on any film, really. And I just I love the way, it was a real page turner. And yeah, it's always just, I was just really pleased that I'd been thought of for this. And I'd worked with Jeremy Bolt, the producer, had a contact there. So, and I was very excited. He had flagged it and said that he was going to send this script. So I knew the novel and I'd read it to my kids. And I just thought it was such a clever adaptation, beautifully told. Just all the way, yeah, just great dialogue. So yeah, it was a no-brainer.
Both of your characters obviously deal with a very intense shared grief. What was kind of creating that bond between uncle and niece on set?
Well, I think kind of at the beginning, Joe was just in so much pain and grief. Just getting close to someone, especially family, is just not, she just can't put herself through being attached to someone like that. And I think it's through beauty, really, that brings them together, of training her and getting to know her, and John kind of helping, getting them feeling safe and happy and cared for again. I think that's really what brought them together.
And for you as well?
I think so. I mean, it's funny as actors when you go on a journey together and we hadn't met before. But Mackenzie's very, very lovely person, very, very easygoing. Yeah, just I think initially when we knew our sort of first moments, is sort of we had this journey to go on. And I think we probably, it probably took a week or two for us to get to know each other as well. But it was nice. It was sort of reflected in the film. But yeah, I mean, Mackenzie and Ashley and everyone involved, it was really a very, very comfortable set. It was a very happy set, made very calm for the horses that, imbued the whole set with a very different sense, if you're around horses all the time. So I think, yeah, and we all had those to refer to all the time. Every conversation was about the horses and, in a lovely way. So yeah, it was good.
And lastly, what do you hope viewers and families this holiday season take away from watching this film?
I hope they take away a sense of wonder. I mean, horses are wonderful. They're beautiful, amazing creatures. And I hope, after seeing this film, they feel that sense of magic and peace and beauty that horses bring to you, and that, they have a little bit of adventure in them, that I just hope that they like it. And that, I think for me, it's one of those movies, it has that feel of one of those movies that I used to watch as a kid. Mm-hmm. And that really just made me feel so warm and happy inside. And so I hope that's the same for anyone who watches it.
Yeah, I hope that people do. They are extraordinary animals, horses. They really are unique, beautiful. They're so powerful. They're so elegant. They're very, very soft, sweet-natured creatures for their size. And so I hope people enjoy getting to know more about them. And it's an amazing adventure story. It's a very uplifting story. It's full of good feeling and love and kindness and towards the horses. And so I hope it leads people to love horses even more, or get to know them if they don't already.
And it's a timeless story too, which is obviously really special to see on screen once again. Thank you guys both so much for your time, and happy holidays too.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
How did you first get involved with Black Beauty?
So I got a call from my agent, and I was like penciled in to do something else, which was starting about 2 weeks later. And then I got a call from my agent and went in and did a tape in London. And then like 3 days after that, I had to make a call between doing the film, doing Black Beauty, and doing this other thing. And obviously like it sounded so great, and I'd watched Mackenzie and loads of stuff and thought she was awesome. So it was no competition really. You
It's
know?
hard to say no to Disney too. Like that's
Sure,
an
yeah,
iconic
exactly.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you relate to your character at all?
Definitely I could, yeah, for sure, in certain ways. I mean, I'm really lucky in that I have a really good relationship with my family, and my mum is nothing like mum Claire played so well in the film. But yeah, I think, you know, feeling maybe like older than your years at like 17, 18, it's a funny age, and like, you know, trying to be a good person, I guess. I mean, George is probably more successful than I am most of the time, but yeah, for sure.
And you and Mackenzie have really great kind of chemistry on screen, like kind of building from a friendship and then turning a little bit more than a friendship. How was connecting with her just on set and bringing that on camera?
Yeah, it was really, I think, like, probably, you know, the best thing about doing the whole movie for me was meeting Mackenzie. And, you know, it's funny, is it? Because, you know, lots of times before I've worked with people who I've seen on screen, and yeah, I mean, I know this is a cliche, but she's so down to earth and so lovely. And also, you know, really an amazing scene partner, because she's so present, not just when the camera's on her, you know, in all of my close-ups, all of my takes. She's been like throwing things at me to like make it interesting, even though we've been doing it for like 30 times that day. And yeah, and I feel like I've, you know, this is so saccharine and too sweet, but I've found you know, a friend as well, and we've stayed in touch, and we live in different places, and obviously at the moment it's impossible to hang out, but yeah, she's the best. She's such a pro.
That's awesome. And what was it like working with horses on set too? That seems like such a crazy cool experience.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. I wasn't like, I thought horses were really gorgeous and beautiful, but I'd never spent any time riding horses really before I got the job. So I learned to ride horses in the like 2-3 months before we started shooting, and that was cool. I was like learning in a stable off a motorway in London, so it was different when I got to South Africa, and then it was like these amazing, you know, backdrops and landscapes, and the horses were all so, I mean, it is, you know, you can see in the film, but they're so incredibly smart and powerful, and they're amazing creatures. But yeah, there was actually in the scene Mackenzie and I do, I think maybe it's our second last scene, where it's like 10 years later, and we have a little kiss, and Jenny, who is the main Black Beauty, she really did not like me kissing Mackenzie. Jenny and we got on the whole shoot, and then we did that scene and I had to lean in. Every time Jenny was like, no, she kept smashing my head out of the way. So I think, you know, in terms of Jenny, maybe yeah, she wants me to stay away from Mackenzie, but the rest of the horses were incredible, as was Jenny, of course.
And lastly, what do you kind of hope audiences and families take away from the film, especially during this holiday season?
Yeah, I think it's like a really, I mean, obviously it's been an awful year in so many ways, and a strange year, but I think, you know, I've watched the film with my family and my girlfriend. I think what we felt was like, I think it's a really sweet, pure and hopeful story. And for it to come at a time where, you know, people are feeling a bit strange and maybe not able to be with their loved ones, I think hopefully it, you know, reminds people that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Even when things get tough, there's always hope. And yeah,
that's a really beautiful sentiment, and it matches with the film really well too.
I'm glad you think so.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today, and yeah, have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, you too.
Ashley, hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
First of all, congratulations on the film. I loved it a lot. Like, I felt like I was transported to being a little kid again.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
What led you to reimagine this classic story for 2020?
I grew up with the novel. It really impacted me as a little girl. It just, not only the beautiful messages, which I really connected to as a young person, but I just wanted to be around horses. I wanted to be part of the world of horses. And that wasn't just the idea of competing, or it was just being around horses. They've got such an amazing energy to them. And the novel really elicits that through this incredible, very unique first person perspective of a horse. And so I was an equestrian most of my young adult life. And when I went to college, horses disappeared from my life for about a decade. while I was building my business and building my career as a filmmaker. And then as I eventually started growing and had done a couple of independent films and a lot of commercial work, I serendipitously met Jeremy Bolt, our producer on Beauty. And we talked about films that had inspired us to go into the business. And I mentioned the scene in The Black Stallion where Alec and the Black connect for the first time. And it's 5 minutes set to score. And the cinematography is unbelievable and sweeping. And he said, Ashley, my partner and I have wanted to remake Black Beauty for 10 years. If you have a take on it, let me know. And he said, the only two things we know we want to do, we want to modernize the story and we want Beauty to be female. And so I practically jumped out of my chair. I had a take right in the room and I ran home and I put together this 40-page long pitch. And it's been about 3 years and 1 week to the day the movie is being released on Disney Plus from that first general meeting. And it was just unbelievable, the serendipity that it was the right time for this. I strongly feel like it's the right time for Beauty to be remade again, because the messages within it are truly timeless.
I completely agree. And what was it like kind of being folded into the Disney family and working through with Disney Plus as well?
I mean, Disney Plus couldn't be more of a perfect platform to reach the core audience and the spirit of what this film represents. It's families, it's not just children, but it's families, and it truly is for all ages. And I'm so proud that it can be enjoyed by someone who's 8 or 10 or 12, but it can also be enjoyed as a date night or as a family night. And it's a film that I think will hit a lot of different hearts. Besides
like the other film adaptations of the Black Beauty story and what you said with Black Stallion, what were some of the cinematic inspirations for you with the aesthetic of the film?
I very much, when I was modernizing the story, it was very important to me to find, as a lover of the novel, I didn't want to just reinvent a new Black Beauty story. It was very, very important to me to honor the original messages and themes, characters, locations. So we have Birtwick, Urshel, we have the scene with the fire, we have the river scene. And the main challenge was figuring out what Beauty's origin story was going to be, because there's no direct parallel to that today. She was a cab horse in London. We now have cars. So I went back to find out why Anna Sewell wrote the novel in the first place. And she was crippled as a little girl. And so she got to know horses in a way that was very intimate, and it gave her a unique understanding. She was probably she probably had an early way about her that would parallel natural horsemanship today. And she wanted to make people understand that horses could feel emotions like humans can. And she wanted to get the novel out into the hands of grooms and stable boys and just have people treat horses differently. And so when I found out more about what wild horses were going through in our country, being rounded up and put into mass holding pens, and there are about 50,000 horses, wild horses in our country that are just stuck in mass holding, which is really sad. I couldn't believe that as a horse person, I didn't know that was happening in our country. And so as I started doing my research, I thought this modern day issue is very, very much a parallel to what Anna Sewell wanted to do for the horses of her time. And I thought in a very powerful, elegant, positive way, we could cast a spotlight on something like that, see if the movie can do some good, in addition to being a beautiful, stunningly cinematic film with great performances.
That's what I think the film really does well, is that it educates people on so many different levels, like you're saying about that specific issue, but also just kind of this emotional education of dealing with grief and your childhood loss and growing up with Joe throughout that too. What was the casting process like? I mean, Mackenzie did such a fantastic job. Everyone did, but it really holds down the film, and then with Kate Winslet voicing too.
Yeah, we were so fortunate with the casting process. I mean, Mackenzie, Joe was a very challenging character to think about who would embody Joe Green. 17 is a very specific age. I didn't want to cast too old because I wanted to retain the youthful innocence that age should represent for a young woman. And so finding someone that had this elegance, but this fire, it's very similar to the casting with Black Beauty. I feel like the qualities between Mackenzie and Kate are very similar. They're elegant, they're highly intelligent, they're very kind, grounded, humble, but they have this strength of spirit and this older soul, this wisdom to them. And I felt like that was what I was looking for in Black Beauty, as well as in Joe Green, and a lot of ways in John. So I was really struck by Mackenzie's performance in Interstellar. And I was rewatching that during the casting process, racking my brain with, I told our producers we're going to have to go on a nationwide search. Who is going to be Joe? And then I saw Mackenzie again, even though she's much younger in that film. I turned to my husband, Ed, and I said, that's Joe. That's Joe. There's no other Joe. And I emailed Jeremy Bolt that night and expressed, this is Joe. And I just hoped that she would respond to the screenplay. And luckily, she and Kate and Ian all did. And I just, that trifecta of that casting couldn't have been more perfect. And Ian Glenn, he's just so kind. He's one of all of them are. We had a tight shooting schedule, and different actors might not have been as okay with just keeping up that pace. And they rolled with everything, and they wanted to get to know the horses. They wanted to do their own stunts and to have that authenticity. And I think that the relationship that Joe, Mackenzie and Ian built with the horses in the film really rings true. And then Kate Winslet adding to the voice and just her passion for it as well. It's really special.
And I think that soul really kind of comes through just for the viewers. And
you.
Ian spoke so highly just now of working with you and working with horses on set. So I know you mentioned a tight production schedule. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, but also like, what was it like working with animals? Like that seems so crazy. Obviously you're a natural equestrian, but from a director standpoint, trying to wrangle everything, how was that?
It was challenging, but we were so fortunate. We had an incredible horse team. And I mean, they worked around the clock to make sure the horses were safe at all times. And as an equestrian, that was tantamount to me. I mean, I made some tough decisions on set when we had insurance to do a particular stunt, but the horse was really fresh that day. And I saw a buck and I talked to the trainer and we decided we're not putting Mackenzie on the horse today. And it was making those calls, but keeping the safety of not only the horses, but the actors in mind at all times it was really, really critical. And so, but our horse team, they approached we did Liberty training in the film, which is the horses at Liberty. They're not tied up with ropes. There's no lassoing. There's no clicker training, nothing. It was all through Liberty work and forming that bond to elicit the horse to want to do the stunt or to want to do the thing. And Cody Rossen-Harris, our Liberty trainer, and Elbrus, our horse master, the way that they just approached the horses with the love of just loving animals and loving their work. And then the horses, who are highly intelligent, just did these stunts that were just unbelievable. You write something in a screenplay and you're not entirely sure if that's going to, even as an equestrian, I wasn't sure if everything could be pulled off. For example, a horse racing the river to go save a hiker. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to get the drone shot over the river with the horse, or if that would have to be VFX. It wasn't. The Beauty was running along the river. All of that was authentic. There's no CG in the film. And Ian, as the horse whisperer, John Manley, he really, as did Mackenzie, they really wanted to bond with the horses. But with our tight shooting schedule, we had 6 weeks initially, which was really, really, it ended up being more like 7.5, edging 8 with just some pickup days. But I milked out every possible moment of, if we had a hair and makeup test, well, Mackenzie's really natural. Ian doesn't require much. And we have half a day. Let's plan this so that Ian can be, for example, on our hair and makeup test day, Ian got into the round 10 and we had the camera, we had a small crew, and we actually had a horse that had never done join up before. And so Ian recited his speech and his dialogue, and he actually did a real join up where you see in the film when the horse hooks on and starts walking up behind him as he's saying, horses are a window to your soul. My goal through this work is to help each horse find his peace. That was happening with the horse as he was reciting that dialogue. And our Liberty trainer, Cody, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, he started to cry. And that was the first time I saw Cody cry. He cried a lot on set, as did I. But he was just so touched that actually happened with an actor who wanted to do that kind of work. So it was really special. That authenticity was really special.
Very quickly, just to wrap up, what do you hope audiences and families this holiday season take away from watching Beauty?
I hope they come away with a sense of hope and love, and to be impassioned, and to come away with feeling like they have a Mustang spirit, which I think represents everything that our actors had. And it's the heart and soul of this film. It's having a strength of spirit. It's being kind to others. It's being empathetic, but also standing up for what you believe in always, and digging in your heels when something might not be right, but also being gentle and soft when things are. So I think everyone has a little bit of a Mustang spirit.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today, and congrats again.
Thank you so much.